Hello everyone, it's another wonderful episode on Ethicspod, and as usual we're very excited to be here. My name is Damilola, your host, and I am not alone. I'd like to say that I'm alone, but I have this
You can't say you're
daddy.
alone. You can't say you're alone. You
See,
look forward to not being
I
alone.
don't look forward. I need a fellow Gen Z like me.
Eh?
I need a Gen Z.
A Gen
You're
Z
not trying enough.
A Gen Z cannot even occupy this post. This is a millennial seat.
Millennial seats.
You know?
Whatever.
If you know how they tried to scam us.
When was that?
When 99 to 2000.
Oh God.
Did you ever have the millennium bug?
No, I did not.
They said it was going to turn off all the calculators, turn off all the
Really?
phones, and my father was running helter skelter. I will not lose my bank accounts. My money must not get lost.
As a dead.
I'm telling you,
Wow,
it
that's
was a
interesting.
real thing. It was a real thing.
Then I did not even know what was happening in the world. I was
tough.
still. Anyways, we are super excited to be here, like we said. And what's been happening with you? How have you been?
I've been good. I've been fine. Getting my energy back. People sign things. People go into agreements. And you know, of course, our focus today is something to do with the justice system.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
people sign deals and agreements without recourse to the implications.
Yes.
And that's why things need to be done by professionals. If I'm going to ask you, Dami, when you download app, when they bring terms and conditions, what do you used to do?
I've never read that thing in my life.
You just press
It's so much.
agree and what?
Yes, and continue.
Agree and continue. When they
You
bring
do you used to read
cookies,
it? Do you read it?
cookies for you online,
Bring all the cookies. I'm not that.
you will even tell them
I
to
want
bring tea.
cookies.
You will carry a Ethicspod mug, pot tea,
I'm
and run
telling
the cookies.
you,
And
yes.
I always say this then, 20, 30 years down the line, you're going to discover that your pictures, your images, your
yes.
sound, your trademarks, you signed it away.
Exactly.
And it is something similar that has happened. Of course, it's still a developing story. What they're basically saying is a court in France, in Paris. See, I'm practicing. I'm practicing.
Please
to go
teach
to
me. I like French, but I
bring
don't know.
money.
I don't.
My generation, we like money.
But you know that I won't mind being held down in other countries, right? As a collateral, I will stay there. I'm not coming back to this
They
country.
don't give Gen Z mic. I've told you. Oh, so you think
I'm
when
not
they hold
coming
you
back.
down, you will be on the tarmac washing the. Can you wash plane? The whole long plane like this. You'll be
But
washing
I'll
it
be
every
eating.
day.
And
Eating
the weather
what?
will be foreign weather. I'm definitely going to.
As well. Meanwhile, your people have done it again, but
Who's
for
that?
a good case this time.
Who's
The Nigerians are back in Guinness Book of
Oh
Records.
my God.
They said they would change
At
that
this
thing.
rate, I need
They
to
said they
go.
will change it.
What do you think we can do? We said, let's cooperate. What can we do in that Guinness World of Records? I think I can do sleep.
Gen
Like
Z.
the longest time to
This is
sleep.
why they're always subbing you these Gen Zs. Sleep.
Sleep
Me, I
is
wanted to
very
say something
important.
serious like,
Movies. Do you know that I can watch movies the longest?
me, let's do sweetest podcasts.
No, it will be too serious now.
Finest girl podcast.
No. I want to sleep and I want to watch movies.
Anyway, so the guy got into the Guinness Book of Records for visiting. Do you like food? Do you like food?
Yes, I do.
You can do that.
I'm
150
a foodie.
restaurants
in Nigeria on foot.
in 24 hours.
Yes, on foot. That's the most amazing part of this thing. On foot, because I was like,
Come.
how?
Where is our producer? Our producer needs to. What's the guy's name? Somebody should look for the guy's name for it. And his,
We need
and
to
his
know.
handle. I want to follow
I
him.
think
and
he
look for
also
him.
went
Somebody
to
should look for
people.
it.
I would have loved to be part of that crowd because they're just eating everywhere. Like
Who
we
is
go
paying?
from here. Good question. Him now, definitely him.
No, it
He's the
can't
one
be
paying.
him. 150. Aisha is not Mama Put.
No, he went to like top restaurants. Mr. Allah, I don't like when we always. Let's argue now because the guests we are bringing is going to be very hot. No arguments. So all our arguments, let's finish
Why
it
can
now
we not
before
argue?
we can.
Why can we not argue? Why I will argue?
No, we are not. We are not arguing. The next when we bring in our guests now, it's just going to be all. Let us learn from the Jedi, or how do you usually say it? So now is the best time that we can argue. We can't be bantering in front of our guests.
What's his name? Let me. No, bring the phone. Bring it. Don't be shy. Appear inside our podcast.
The name of the restaurant guy.
Oh, okay. The guy's name is Chimso Brian.
Okay.
Wana
Chimso Brian.
has set a new Guinness World Record for the most fast food restaurants visited in 24 hours. I bet they should give me budget.
24 hours.
I'll do it. I can
You
definitely.
get tired. I feel like after that challenge, the guy, if he sees food, he would be
He's
sick.
probably just going to be
because-
picking. Can I take it home?
Take what home?
The
They
food,
take
no.
away. You can't. You eat it there now. Is that not the point?
I want to go
How
and
many
do-
takeaway do you now want to carry?
I want to go and do my own Guinness World Record challenge in Paris. That's where I want to go and do it. Paris,
I
beside
want
the
a French
presidential
accent
jet.
so bad.
Anyways, people at home, you know what? We are bringing somebody amazing for you guys. Somebody who we're going to learn a lot from.
Yes,
Who is going
incoming.
to challenge your reasoning and your thinking. Just stay with us and enjoy.
Yes.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. It's another week. Welcome to another edition of Ethicspod, a pod where you get to hear about corruption and the war on it. What are we doing? How can we change things? Of course, I remain the millennial daddy, Onolakwa Bodunde, Ola for short. Of course, my co-pilot, my assistant, the ever gorgeous, delectable Dami, is here with us.
Yes, please. I'm so happy that you've accepted your name, Millennial Daddy.
Please, you forced it on me, please. And ladies and gentlemen, I mean, we have a legal luminary, we have a Jedi, a master, somebody who has a whole wealth of knowledge, both by being an experienced person, but also an icon of law in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Senator Kanu Agabi.
Welcome,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
It's a pleasure to have you. Of course, you've served as the Minister of Justice. You are a senior advocate of Nigeria. I mean, it's amazing to be in your presence, thinking about all the things that you must have to tell us today. We're hoping that our guests, our people at home, are going to be very enlightened and enriched. So we're going to start with the obvious one. You served as the Minister of Justice. I'm trying to be sure whether I was
You're right.
born during that time. It was from what year to
Yeah, I
what year,
wasn't.
sir?
From 1999, I served twice. I was Attorney General and Minister of Justice from 1999. After a time, I moved over to solid minerals, and then I came back to justice.
Brilliant. Now, if memory serves me correct, were you the Minister of Justice around the time ICPC was formed? Was it before? Was it after? Were you involved in the process?
I was. In fact, the ICPC bill, which went to the National Assembly, was the first bill that President Obasanjo presented to the National Assembly. He was very anxious about corruption because as at 1999, when he came into office, I think corruption had permeated every department of our national life. So he was quite worried about this. And that was the first bill that he presented to the National Assembly, which was passed into law, the ICPC Act.
Wow, brilliant. And here you are some 24 years later. 24 years later, right now, once again speaking. So, in your opinion, what has changed? How has bribery, corruption, how has it evolved? I'm not going to say put it on a scale and say, is it better or is it worse? But how has it evolved?
Well, let me start by saying that we're good people. You know, because when you hear the emphasis on corruption, people think that Nigeria is a nation of devils. We're not. We're very good people. We're very hardworking people, a very intelligent people, a God-fearing people. Sometimes people mock our attendance at church and say that we're hypocritical, but that's not correct. We're a very, very good nation. You know, the problem that we have had with corruption has come mainly from the leadership. The generality of the people are very good. What I can say is what happens when people are ruled by fear. It is said that when the plague, in one of the legends, the plague was going to Benares to kill 10 people. And after the plague had done that, it turned out that 100 people died. And they said, look, You said you were going to kill 10 people. How come you killed 100 instead? And the plague said, well, I didn't kill 100 people. I killed 10 people. But 90 people died out of fear. You know, people fear the ICPC. They fear the EFCC. They fear the NFIU. They fear the police. They fear the SSS. All these institutions that are set up to fight corruption and ensure right conduct, people fear them. And as a result of that fear, they do things which harm the economy. They keep their monies in their houses. They change their naira into dollars. They don't bank. It is fear of these institutions more than anything else that is responsible for some of the problems we're having with the economy. So today, the nation seems worse off than it was in 1999.
Seems worse off.
Yeah, it seems worse off. And I brought this book to read to you what Obasanjo said when he was signing the ICPC Act into law. This is what he said. He said, every coup since then has been in the name of stamping out the disease called corruption. Unfortunately, and this was very prophetic, it was highly prophetic. He said, unfortunately, the cure often turned out to be worse than the disease.
Right.
Yes, the cure has turned out to be worse than the disease. Why? Because many Nigerians are taking their monies abroad, keeping it abroad. We have hundreds of billions of dollars abroad by Nigerians who fear to keep their monies in the homeland, in the motherland, in the fatherland. They prefer to keep their monies abroad. Monies that they have acquired legitimately are taken abroad. Monies that are acquired illegitimately, illicitly, are taken abroad. This has harmed the nation. And I think that the time has come for us to re-examine our approach to the fight against corruption. We must encourage those who have monies abroad to bring it back. We must encourage those who have monies in the country to invest it. We must do that. Unless we do that, we will continue to suffer the distresses that are affecting the economy right now.
Right.
Yes. How we shall do that, we can think about it. But the time has come when we must encourage Nigerians to invest in the country. Those who have monies to bring it in.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
So to ask, during your tenure as Minister of Justice, as Attorney General, what were the significant challenges you faced in upholding anti-corruption laws or fighting corruption in generally, and how were you able to overcome those obstacles?
Well, obstacles. You see, as I said earlier on, as at 1999, when we came into office, corruption had permeated every department of the national life. It resided in drivers, in cooks, in stewards, in mechanics.
Even as at then?
Yes, even then. It had, And then we were under a dictatorship. And the pendulum swung, as it were, from one extreme of dictatorship to the other extreme of liberalism. People felt that, look, we are now free. We can do as we please. So that was a big problem. We still are laboring under that misconception that democracy means the right to do as you please, that politics is a game without rules. That is still the mentality. We carry that mentality into everything that we do. The laws are not self-enforcing. The laws don't enforce themselves. The laws are very good. The ICPC Act is very good. The EFCC Act is very good. All the laws regulating our affairs, they are extremely good. They meet the standards of other nations. But you need good people to enforce them. And the question that you must ask yourself then is, do we have the good people to enforce the laws? What is the problem that we have with law enforcement? And I can tell you one straight away. When people feel that they are at liberty to behave as they please, the small institutions, the ICPC is a very little institution. It is so small. The EFCC is so small. The police force is so small. They can't cope. The judiciary is so small. If we don't correct ourselves, if Nigerians don't take it upon themselves to do the right things, the ICPC can't cope. The EFCC can't cope. The police cannot cope. The judiciary can't cope. Because these are very small institutions. So we must correct ourselves. That is what we must do. Now, when we don't correct ourselves, what is it that happens? Let us take the police, for instance. They are overwhelmed. And truly they are overwhelmed. The judiciary is overwhelmed. You go to the courts, a judge is looking at 20 or 30 cases in one day, he can't cope. What happens? He becomes indifferent. He can't cope. His mind becomes brutalized by this constant and relentless exposure to things that he can't do anything about. So it ends up destroying him.
Now, you earlier mentioned the concept of liberalism being taken erroneously as an extreme departure from the military role. Then concepts like freedom of expression, I'm free to say whatever, and that's prevalent with social media. I'm free to say whatever I want to say. I'm free to go wherever I want to go. Now, this brings me to a question, because obviously you are a senior advocate of Nigeria. Now, in your experience, perhaps with a chambers or something similar, when it comes to representing people, how much do legal people have to worry about? How much is at stake when you say, okay, this person, it seems like he's a corrupt person. Can I take his case on, or can I not take his case on? Where's that? How is that line not blurred?
It's not blurred at all, because I'm a lawyer. I'm not a judge. And I can't sit in judgment over him. The law itself presumes him to be innocent. The law says this man is presumed to be innocent until the court of law pronounces him guilty. He comes to me, and then I pass judgment over him and say, look, I can't take your case because I think you're guilty. That's wrong. In fact, the ethics of the profession does not permit that. What you are not allowed to do is to employ inferior or unfair methods in defending him. You can't start teaching him to lie. Just as the prosecutors are not permitted to employ lies in the prosecution of crime. Lawyers are not permitted to employ any such inferior methods in defending their clients. So when a person comes to me, he is charged according to law. The crime is according to law. It's not according to public perception. There are many, many things that we perceive as wrongdoing, which are moral wrongdoings, but not forbidden by
the law.
Yes, not forbidden by law as crimes. So you go to court, you defend him. It's for the judge to pass judgment. You can't start passing judgment over him.
So now, but how does that now directly affect corruption? Because one of the many complaints people usually have is, the standard of the law is not great, the constitution needs to be amended, people are getting away with too much. So how does that now directly affect corruption when somebody who is doing the wrong thing feels like innocent until proven guilty.
No, well, I mean, that's the law, and that's the correct thing. And there are many innocent people who have been convicted, who were quite innocent. Jesus was. Socrates was. If you look at history, many good people have found themselves condemned and sentenced to death. In this country, Obasanjo, he was sentenced to death. He carries that mark, a sentence of death. And yet, people believe that he was innocent. I believe that he was innocent myself. Those who convicted him regretted it. So, if Obasanjo had gone to a lawyer and said, "Look, come and defend me. I've been accused of treason," and the lawyer said to him, "Well, I don't believe you. You are guilty. Go and submit to the sentence."
So, however the case may be, they have a right to be defended.
Yes, the law, the defense of crime is instituted by law under the Constitution, just as the prosecution of crime is instituted by the Constitution. Both sides must do their best. Both sides must do their best.
Now let's move a bit away from the technicalities. You're seated here. I mean, for some reason, we're all in green. You're on a youth platform. We see you as one of us. What's the role of youth in fighting corruption? I mean, I asked you a question earlier about the law enacting ICPC. Were youth supposed to be a factor, not just in ICPC, but other anti-graft organizations?
What I can say about youth straight away is this. I'm in sympathy with youth. I'm in great sympathy with them. Why not? Many young people, they have no homes. They have no jobs. They have no hope. They're in despair. That's the truth. Some of them have no education. In any case, the education we are offering to our young people today does not equip them for life. We are not a self-reliant nation. We are not teaching people the use of the hands. We are not even teaching the use of the mind. Our education is destroying our young. Many of the young people you see going about, they have little. When I was a child, they used to say that a half education is a dangerous thing. It is. Many people have a half education. If you ask some young people what books they have read, some have read nothing. And it is no fault of theirs. There are no books in the nation. You go to the schools, the teachers are ill-equipped. They are poorly paid. That's the truth. So the result is that we are turning out hundreds of thousands of young people every year ill-equipped for life. So they are not equipped to fight corruption. They are only, in a position to enhance it. Many of our youth are enhancing corruption.
By their own, are we?
Through no fault of theirs, because they don't have any sound education. They are not trained to use their hands. They have little or no respect for others. You find it all the time, and it is no fault of theirs.
So
you don't agree with this?
Oh no. I mean, for one, we find it fascinating to have this conversation with you, especially with the generational gap, right? Now, another question I'm going to ask. There seems to be this common theme where somebody who has held office, when people look at you when you're in office, it's different from the way we see you now, you saying these things. How difficult is it for somebody in office who wants to live upright and make a change? How does corruption fight even people in office who want to live upright?
Well, I don't know how it does, but one thing I can tell you is this.
Personal experience.
Yeah, no, but without even my personal experience, I can tell you that one of the sources of corruption in our country is the appointment into high offices of people who are not qualified. There are many, many people holding high offices for which they are not qualified. This is true. That's how a nation like Nigeria fell into this stigma of being branded as corrupt. It is too many people are holding offices for which they are not qualified. And it started during the war when states were created. The creation of states led to the multiplication of offices. The needs that arose were met by appointing unqualified people. That's true. And that has gone on. The boundaries of the states are rigid. A person from state A cannot work in state B. That has enhanced corruption. One state is prepared to use its indigents whether they are qualified or not. So these are the problems. There are too many people holding offices for which they are not qualified. And that is true. You can't dispute that. That is the source of corruption. It is corruption. When you take up an office for which you are not qualified, it is corruption when you appoint a person who is not qualified. They cannot appreciate the gravity of what they are doing. They can't.
So, now, present day Nigeria, one other thing that a lot of people complain about, that say, oh, this is the reason why I don't bother to reach out to the ICPC, to the police, to the EFCC. The justice system, it's supposed to be the last hope of the common man, how they put it. How do you think the wheels of justice can be made to grind faster and more effectively?
Yes, I said something in that connection already. I said that the system is overwhelmed, the judiciary is overwhelmed. You go to court and the judge is having to deal with 20 or 30 cases in one day. He can't cope. And this is true. You go to the Court of Appeal, hundreds of cases, thousands of cases.
Do we need more judges? Do we need more? What
no, we need to correct ourselves. We can't go on building prisons. People say build more prisons. Are we going to turn the entire nation into one vast prison? Are we going to turn the entire system into a judiciary? We can't do that. We must correct ourselves. Nigerians must correct themselves. We seem unwilling to do that while criticizing the system. Why are the judges not coping? Why are the police not coping? I had occasion to address the police once, and I said that, look, we blame the police. If we are going to bring policemen from heaven, we must bring legislators from there too. We must bring ministers from there. You can't do that. We must correct ourselves. Nigerians must sit up and correct themselves. You know, like the prodigal son, he said, I will arise and return to my father. We must do that. The Nigerians must correct themselves. Well, to some extent, you may blame the leadership for not being decisive enough. The whole essence of the presidential system, vesting all power in one person, is so that that power can be used to correct the system. That power must be used decisively. When it comes to correction, it is not optional. That's why they say, he that spared the rod hated the child. In this country, we are sparing the rod.
So,
yes.
How do you think, because most Nigerians, the average Nigerians, feel that the Nigerian justice system targets low-level officials, public officials, instead of the high-level ones for corruption. What do you think about that? Do you think that that is true?
Look, they have done very well. They have done very well with the fight against corruption. EFCC, ICPC, they have done very, very well. I can tell you that. If you go and read their records and see how much monies they are recovering, how successful they are with prosecution of crime, they are doing very, very well. But the truth is that, you know, the scale of corruption is such that this looks like a drop in the ocean, but they are doing what they can.
Right.
They can't. This what they can do.
Oh, yes. Well, you say this is what they can do, but of course we are always striving to be better. But for you and I, who may take care to check the indices, we say yes, they are doing their best. But the common man out there keeps saying, look, you're targeting a Yahoo boy. You're targeting a guy who can't afford to get a lawyer. He has just done 1 million naira. Whereas this big wig, he is guilty or is accused rather.
Because they don't realize. Look, governors have gone to prison in this country. Legislators have gone to prison. They are prosecuting these people. They are. Men of rank and position are being prosecuted. It's true.
That's interesting. So at this point, I'm going to ask you, I want people at home, I want people, viewers and listeners, to actually get a real life example. Can you give us one instance, one story from that is up in your memory about how the system actually got somebody who is corrupt and Nigeria is better off for it?
Listen, I can't come and sit here and begin to brand people corrupt and call their names on a program like this. I can't. You know, you ought to know those things yourself, and you can broadcast them if you think that you can take that kind of liberty. But I can't come and sit down here and scandalize people or stigmatize them as corrupt. I can't do that.
Right.
Yes.
I understand.
And in any case, is there a shortage of such material? Look at TikTok. Look at YouTube. Look at the social media. They are awash. They have no restraint. Is there a shortage of that kind of information?
And that's a very good point you raised, because I was going to ask you about that.
Yes.
How technology and social media and the court of public opinion, how it appears that people seem to be branded even before there's justice. Do you think that technology does more harm or more good in the fight against corruption?
Well, I would say that it does more good than harm, because we are compelled to be mindful. You have to be mindful. They are going to accuse you even when you have not come under any kind of justifiable suspicion. So you have to be even more mindful. We can't restrict technologies because of some of the harm that is being done. These devices are intended for good. If they are being misused, we have to find a way of correcting those who are misusing them. But they are good devices. Very, very good indeed. So, I mean, in those days, when I was growing up, living in Calabar, if you wanted to, some of the things we do by phone now, you have to fly to Lagos or take a bus to Lagos. There are many, many things. These devices are helping. We are actually moving forward. We are not moving backwards. We need to be positive. We are trying to solve the problems of the nation overnight. You can't solve them overnight. We are actually making progress. We are. And we must appreciate that. I told you before, we're a good nation. We're good people. Hardworking, intelligent, resilient, patient, God-fearing. That's how we are. Of course, not every Nigerian is like that. And I told you that, look, it's a problem of the leadership. It's not like Sodom and Gomorrah, where God couldn't find 10 good people. No. We're good people. And that is where to start. With hope. We can't start despairing and say, no, we're bad people. Let me ask you, do you think we're bad people?
I definitely don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think
So you agree with me?
Yes, sir. So, sir, okay, let's go back to history a little bit, because there's a story that I'm really curious about concerning your race in all this anti-corruption journey. So, in May 2003, you urged a federal high court in Abuja to order the arrest of the National Assembly leadership and in contempt of court for for passing an anti-graft bill into law. So, can you...
No, that's not correct. Please, it's not me. And these are the kind of things that we're talking about. Under the arrest? No, not myself.
Right.
Not myself at all. Not in the least.
Oh.
You know, I do remember that there was an amendment of the ICPC Act, which we regarded as aiding and facilitating corruption rather than fighting it. And we went to court. We said to the court, set aside this proposal to amend the ICPC Act. It wasn't a question of ordering the arrest. No. The power of the National Assembly is to make laws in aid of peace and good government. That's what legislative power is about. Peaceful laws for peace and good government. And so if the National Assembly passes a law and we think that this law does not aid the cause of peace, it doesn't aid the cause of good government, then it is not a good law. So that type of thing happened. When there were proposals to amend the ICPC Act to make that institution weak, the Federal High Court set it aside.
Okay, sir. So,
Yes.
Also in the ICPC Act, among the board members, we have a youth representative. So I would like to know the reason behind adding a youth to that membership. Okay, what was the aim of that, of bringing youths into it and making youths be involved in it?
Yeah, to bring in all perspectives, just like they bring in women, to bring in that perspective, to bring in the perspective of young people, to let us see things from the perspective of youth. Makes sense.
It does. And now that leads me again into another question. Now the youth was or is represented. There is a certain frustration among youths in Nigeria who feel that their voice is not heard, or it is heard but ignored. Now I was surprised when you said TikTok. I'm like, let me remember. Can my grandfather in the village say, does he know what TikTok is? And it means you are an exception. But the question now is, why does it seem like this new method of doing things, say, for instance, in the justice system, why don't courts have equipment for stenography? Why didn't the stenographers? Why is technology not being taken advantage of more to fight corruption?
Yes, we can. We should. And we're doing it. Many courts are trying to do that. They are. But we can't do these things overnight. Slowly, we are getting there. Look, how many young people today, if you go to the rural areas, many young people have never even heard of the computer. They have never seen it. Many teachers in our rural areas don't even know about the computer. Whereas in a globalizing world, we should be teaching our young people the use of these equipment, these devices. We should. But we can't achieve that overnight. We can't. We are a nation of over 200 million people. And we're trying to do things ourselves. We're not trying to bring in Chinese and Indians and Koreans and Japanese to do everything for us. We're trying to do things ourselves. And because that is so, we're a bit slow. But we will get there. The important thing is to start. And we have started. We're doing well. The one thing that I think we're not doing well is, and I appeal to those Nigerians who have monies abroad, to bring it back. Come and invest in this country. Whether you have acquired that money legitimately or illegitimately, it doesn't matter. When Berlusconi, may he so rest in peace, when he was Prime Minister or President of Italy, he encouraged Italians to bring back their monies, and they did.
The fear, of course, and of course, I'm saying this as public perception, not what is true.
Yeah.
The fear, of course, of insecurity, the fear that there's no power, the fear that the economy is bad. These are the things that you would expect.
Yes, but who is to repay it for you? the responsibility for the emancipation of our country is ours. Do you have children?
Not yet.
Are you married?
Yes.
Can you just go back home and say, look, things are not right in my house, I'm going to destroy it?
Definitely.
I'm going to leave this country? Many people have that mentality. You must find the solution yourself.
Sir, do you think that one of the reasons why people feel like they have to leave and there's no solution is because they feel powerless? Especially
Then who is to solve it? It's a defeatist attitude. It is based on despair. You know, when I was a child growing up in the church, they teach you that there are two sins against hope: despair and presumption. They are sins against hope. Why do you despair? Those who are running away are in despair. Who is going to solve it for you? You have to solve it yourself. We are the ones creating these problems, and we are the ones running away. We say there's no electricity. We have to provide it. We are not a self-reliant nation. We are importing everything. And this is one of the big problems. We are a nation of importers. We import the most basic things. We import rice, don't we? Why should we? As far as I'm concerned, we should eat only the things that we produce. And as long as we cannot produce those things, let us make the sacrifices that are necessary. The nations that are producing the things that we are importing made sacrifices to produce those things. And if we think that, look, we are going to build a self-reliant nation by enjoying the luxuries of other nations, we are making a great mistake. It is our responsibility. We must do it ourselves.
All right, sir. So you mentioned that when you're talking about the justice system of Nigeria, that we will get there. So can you say that you have hopes in the Nigerian justice system that we are definitely
tremendous hope. They are doing very well. In fact, our judges, they are the most hardworking people. People don't appreciate this. They are so hardworking, they don't rest. The judges. Of course, I'm not saying that we have a perfect judiciary. There are judges who are making mistakes. There are who misconceive the law. There are others who perhaps fall into the temptation of taking money to pervert justice. This type of things do happen. It is not a perfect institution. You here, are you perfect?
Nobody is.
Nobody is. Mistakes have been made. We acknowledge that.
All right, sir. So I would like you to, what advice do you have for the youths? Well, because we are the future.
Yes.
We are the ones that would. So what would you like to say, especially to aid this fight against corruption?
Yes, they should sit up, educate themselves, sit up, strive to be self-reliant, find something to do. The Bible says, whatever the hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Whatever the hand finds to do. There is something that we can do.
Well, sir, do you believe
And
that?
do you believe that? There is something we can do. We can't all be in the civil service. We can't. We can't all be in the civil service. We must produce with our hands. If we have to go and farm, go and farm. If you have to go and trade, mold blocks, mold blocks. There is definitely something that the hand can find to do. And God himself says, because you have been faithful in little things, he will promote you to higher things. But nobody wants to start little. We want to start at the top. We want to be politicians. We want to be in the House of Assembly, in the House of Reps, in the Senate.
Has governments become, does it appear too lucrative?
It is. It is lucrative because we are employing wrong methods. It is lucrative because people are arrogating to themselves the things that ought not to be. That is why it is lucrative.
Well, viewers, listeners all around the world, you've heard from, he's a walking library, and there's so many talking points that I'm sure you guys would want to speak about. So don't forget to subscribe to Ethicspod to comment, to like, to share your opinions, and also share this podcast. Daddy, are you anywhere on social media?
Social media, am I not?
Do you have a Facebook account?
I used to go to Facebook a lot, but I stopped because when you go there, you see violent things. You see somebody being killed. You see somebody being burnt to death. You see violent things that you can't erase from your memory. So I don't go there.
And of course, we're speaking about the justice system and the law. Does this now mean that a country like Nigeria needs to find an avenue to regulate social media?
Yes, we should. We should, and punish those who paste things like that. We must do that. Because people like myself cannot go there. You go there, you go and see them killing somebody. Am I right? They paste it there. Why?
Well, it's been an amazing time as always. Thank you for listening. Do join us again on another episode. As always, I remain Olalapo, the Millennial Daddy.
And I remain Damilola, delectable Damilola.
And we just had Senator Kanu Agabi. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful.
Do have a lovely day.
Amen.
And remember, no lose God.
Live a legit life.